Do you fear or think Microsoft will pressure Bethesda into doing what Microsoft wants? Or do you think Microsoft will merge many of their original studios with Bethesda to fine tune sequels and new IPs? For instance, maybe id Software and 343 Industries can fine tune a future Halo game, or maybe the Coalition and id Software can work together on a new Quake.
I think that's just shared tech. That's it, right? Just shared tech.
But let's answer the first part first. Do you think Microsoft is going to like force its will on Bethesda?
No, I don't see that.
You know what I
think?
Yeah,
ruin them.
Yeah, this is what I think is going to happen. Oh, Chris, I'll let you go next. You know what I think is going to happen? I think it's going to be potentially an Activision Blizzard situation. First couple of years, let them do their thing, and then as the years go on, they get heavier and heavier and heavier. You know, that's what I think is going to happen. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say that because there's historical precedent for that. I mean, look at the Bungie acquisition and look how that ended up. I mean, they acquired Bungie. They're like, oh, you guys, you do Halo great, but as soon as they're like, well, why don't we make Halo Wars, and why don't you do this, and why don't we try this, and then Microsoft starts pressuring them in a certain direction, and they're like, yeah, we don't want to do this anymore. That always happens, and they've invested way too much money, $7.5 billion. You don't coast and say, hey, we only acquired you because you're awesome. No, you're going to be like, hey guys, the investors are talking about this and our stocks. So why don't we push Starfield out and push up Elder Scrolls or whatever? They're going to make changes, but it's going to take a couple of years for that force to come in, you know?
Yeah. What about the rest of you guys? What do you say?
I mean, that's kind of what happens anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I mean there's...
hold on. Brett, go ahead, bro.
Go ahead, sorry.
I mean, studios change, people change, jobs change. It's how we talk about, this old company, old Nintendo is not the same as new. Well, Nintendo's a bad example, but, old blank is not the same as new blank. So I think there's going to be, people are going to phase in and phase out, but that's already happened with Bethesda. That's already happened over the years, and it's kind of more the course that they set. So the biggest thing I see is Microsoft coming in and making it not janky. They're doing a complete overhaul of the underlying systems, which explains a lot when you know that Microsoft just acquired them. So they knew they had the money to rebuild the system. Supposedly, it's the biggest one since Oblivion, that's when it went from Morrowind to Oblivion, which is pretty much the face we all see today. That was also when Fallout 3 came out. So the game we're all familiar with was from back then.
Yeah. Manny, go ahead.
What's the question again? Sorry.
You lost your train of thought. Do you think Microsoft is going to force its will on Bethesda?
I think, it seems like the general consensus in the room seems to be that eventually it will.
Yeah.
And I do think it eventually will. I mean, I wish it was like like the way Sony handles their departments, where they sort of just let the artists do what they do. And that's why you get crazy games. But, hopefully that this is the biggest concern I have with every single one of the companies that they have under their umbrella at this point in time. Will Microsoft be able to keep their hands out of it? I hope we don't get a situation where we're getting a bunch of games canceled that sound like really cool ideas. Okay. I mean, right now, yes, it's like I would say that one of the Chris brought up Bungie, because essentially Bungie became the Halo company. And then there's Rare, who essentially just became the Icon company. The only real release that it had been years since they'd actually released anything of worth, which is sad and it's to the point where they're literally all the original creative people that made all those amazing games that you love from Rare are gone, and they had to literally go and make their own company to be creative again. So that's my one fear with a lot of this, where essentially all of these companies that are under this umbrella just become the factories that make these franchises, as opposed to also letting them explore other ideas.
Yeah, Brian, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I'd like to point out, because everyone seems to forget this, Sony is the same way. They're just less subtle than most people, because again, everyone forgets that Zipper Interactive was Sony owned, and they ruined it with SOCOM 4. Like, they added in lots of things that the developers did not want because they wanted to chase after that Call of Duty crowd, and hence that game went down the window. Like Sony killed Zipper, and then they closed down the studio, which was working on 2 IPs at that time. So Sony's not all gold,
I think the
like
last one Zipper did was that Unit
sunshine and
13.
roses.
Wait, but so do you think that Microsoft's gonna do the same thing?
No, I'm just saying that you can't say that Sony like lets the guys do whatever they
They're
want.
infallible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a
Oh.
correction on Brian's part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
Everybody does it.
Yeah, everybody does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's good for Microsoft to. I mean, obviously they're gonna control them. They're gonna eventually, like, the whole lovey-dovey, you know, Todd Howard and Phil Spencer, like, love affair is gonna, you know, just be like business, and Phil Spencer's gonna be like giving them direct orders and be like, hey, this is what we want. I know you guys can do it, so that kind of stuff. But I think in the meantime, I think a company like Bethesda is going to help Microsoft a lot, especially the younger companies, like, you know, the Initiative, 343, the Coalition. They're kind of, you know, a whole bunch of studios that were recently, like, just recently came up the last couple of years that still, you know, that still could learn a lot of stuff from, you know, someone like Bethesda.
Oh, think about job opportunities now. If it's all under that umbrella, developers can jump to other development groups. I could see a lot of that happening. This could be great for developers that were like, shit, I'm tired of making, I don't know, Gears or whatever that 343 shit. I want to go somewhere else. Oh, wait, I can go work on the new Doom? All right, can I do that? I'm ready to go. It's internal now. So we might see some of that.
But it's also important to mention what Manny mentioned. The biggest acquisition failure in probably history of video games is it is Rare. You know, Rare,
yeah, they just had them making fucking avatars and shit. You know.
Yeah, they went from being the company that made the best games and really consistently, and a lot of them, to a company that made avatars and made nuts and
all right. Give them a calm down and give Rare a break. They took a swing and a miss. They tried to do something. It didn't work out. Talking about Sea of Thieves. It was a good concept. It was supposed to be a 10-year concept. They invested a lot of money into that shit to try and help make their platform a service. That was one of the big things they were pushing for Xbox.
Hold on, Brett. I sorry to cut you off, but like, Sea of Thieves eventually became a success, though.
Well, that's and they're still who's the developer of it?
Yeah, no, it's Rare. But the point is, before that, they had nothing. That's the point Carlos was trying to make. Obviously, Sea of Thieves,
they did go through a dry spell, but eventually Microsoft gave something. They're like, all right, here's a.
I like the way you just like it's a dry spell. No, that's a fucking year's worth. The dry spell is not just a year's worth of stuff. That's like a full-on stop.
It was 2 generations worth, but the point is,
literally 2 generations of
Rare did come back though.
That's kind of my point. Remember, they had a cartoon and a cereal for that one that they tried to come back with Microsoft.
Yeah, but let's not go down the rabbit hole right now. Carlos, make your point, man, because we still got a lot of questions tonight.
Because like, came back is way too of a overestimate on this. It's like, yeah, just think about Rare. Rare was even better than what Bethesda is right now back in the day.
Yeah. No, Carlos. But I said I'm not saying they're back. I'm not saying they're back to their old ways. I'm saying they're back to making video games. That's what I said, bro.
What I'm saying is, just imagine if Bethesda makes whatever the equivalent of Sea of Thieves is 20 years from now. That's a disaster. I don't care if there's a feel-good story and you made a decent game. That's a complete failure, no matter what they do from now on.
It's not a feel-good story. It was a point that Microsoft is shifting their direction and focusing on other things.
Yeah, but the Rare acquisition was a failure. There's just no other way to defend it. Whether you like Sea of Thieves or not.
No. I'm not saying that it was, man. Quit putting words in my mouth. And I'm saying
no. I'm not. I didn't say you were. I'm just saying that's what I'm trying to say. That the Rare acquisition was a complete failure, and just to use it as a precautionary tale for what could happen with Bethesda. Obviously, I'm not predicting that's going to happen, but I'm saying that's happened before for the same company when they made a huge acquisition to one of the top studios in the whole world. So, it can't all just be,
like, yeah, well, I mean, it's not guaranteed, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
That's
Ben. Good.
I just say that's my one worry about all of it. It may just be unfounded, but I just looking at the history of a lot of the way these things go, I'm hoping to God that these companies are still allowed to be themselves.
That's always the fear, right? Whenever a big company gobbles up another.
Yeah, well, you look at current Blizzard. You should look at what happened in the news recently. Like Blizzard essentially just became fully Activision, and all the main guys just said "fuck this shit" and made up their own company. That's how bad it got.